So you've done a crowdfunding campaign and it's late. Well, what do you do? Is it game over or can you salvage things? Hey there, this is Perch. The interesting thing about crowdfunding is that yes, it's a nice direct connection with fans. It's a way to really have a clear cut attachment to people who are reading and buying your comic, and I think that's exciting and that's good. And it's one of the things about crowdfunding that hasn't been played up enough lately as people are trying to go for bigger and bigger campaigns. And you're it's not unexpectedly, by the way, you're trying to stabilize a business. But one of the things that's been lost a little bit in the process is just figuring out other means of technology and resources and processes and other things we can do to have the fans and the creators attached more together to be able to influence the direction. And comics may not be the best medium for that anyway, but you kind of get the feeling like if you had a crowd-funded ongoing series, meaning a comic that's going to come out monthly, and by the way, the infrastructure is just not really there to support this in the right way. Being able to have fans both buy and have a more direct impact into the direction of the comic is kind of exciting. I think there's something to be learned there for comics in general. Of how do you engage with fans in a cool and positive way? It's an interesting topic. But as is, I don't want to say inevitable because I do think it is avoidable. But as has happened many times, several crowdfunding campaigns are late, and when they're late, regardless, as we talked about before, it does damage credibility. Whether you're a week late, a month late, a year late, 10 years late, being late is not good. Being on time is good. Being early is wonderful, but being late there's no spin of late being a good thing. The only spin people can do is to say, well, it's late, but it's not as late as something else. And that's a fine argument to make, and there's truth to it too. I think with comics, one of the more baffling things to watch over the last several years has been, you get one guy who does a crowdfunding thing, and it's like 5 years late, and the individual kind of blocks, hides, harasses anyone who asks about it, just gets kind of pissy about it whenever anybody asks. And then that creator is getting taunted and teased by other creators who then do their own crowdfunding campaign, and then they're late. And this is the moment that always, I think, frustrates me, or at least I wish. And I mean, there's lots of different names here that fit this category. People may say, "Oh, you're talking about like B. Claymore and Richard Pace versus Ethan Skyver or Richard Meyer." You're talking about, but no, not really. I mean, yes, those are names that people know, but this is not a new phenomenon. People need to stop, pretending like this has never happened in the history of all of crowdfunding and comics. There's a lot of lateness out there, but what irritates me about the situation is when creator number two is late, then after kind of mocking the first creator who was late, and then kind of the war that ensues, which is a war of, in my mind, a war of dumb on all sides, and I'll tell you why. The dumb is, one on one side they're saying, ah ha ha, look, you're late too, you're late too. Look, if you're 3 to 5 years late on your product, just shut the hell up and sit down. Don't suddenly stand up and want to, where's my comic? Just shut up with that. And whether you're the creator or one of the fans or any of that, just stop. Don't get on your high horse with it. And on the other side, for creator number two, don't then immediately slip into using the same kind of wishy-washy arguments creator number one used, like, well, this has been a delay, and the answer to get away from this, and the purpose of this video, what do you do if you're late? Well, first off, I just want everybody, there's a chance you will be late. If you do a crowdfunding campaign, if you do any kind of job that has a deadline, there's a powerful, like 99% chance at some point you are going to be late with something that you owe. And what do you do? Well, there's lots of tricks and schemes and ways to kind of get out of it or to try and mitigate the damage and all the rest. But there's really only one foolproof way to maintain your dignity and keep going, and keep the majority of fans, and just be you know a good guy about it. I'm having to pause. I finished watching The Boys on Amazon, and The Boys uses the C word a lot in that show. And so I'm a what was it? I'm a template. I don't know. When I hear things people say, both in accents and words, I quickly will pick it up and regurgitate it back. So now I'm having to be really careful that I don't just go off like a sailor on these. But in the spirit of The Boys, I think in trying to hide it and get out of it and make excuses from it makes you sound like the C word, in the spirit of The Boys. Not a word I use very often, but it fits that meaning. The foolproof way to not sound like that is to do this. You're right. I am late. I am sorry. I am working hard to catch up. I am going to try and keep everybody in the loop about what's going on until I've shipped this thing, and then I will do better next time. The end. Literally, that is what you need to do. Those simple words. It's very hard for people to do because their egos get all involved in it. They don't want to admit they're late, even though they are clearly late. It's one of those things like you wake up in the morning, you go outside, it's raining, and you're like, well, it's a bright sunny day, and you're like, but no, it's clearly raining. This isn't a subjective opinion. It's rain. There's rain outside. It's raining on me right now. It is not a sunny day. You're like, yeah, but if you went over those clouds that are raining, there'd be sun there. It's like, okay, Mr. Wizard, thank you, but that is not that stuff is silliness, and that's where a lot of these comic arguments go. It's like, well, let me pick out the one kind of one kind of sneaky way you could look at this whole situation that allows me to still be right. And the answer is, why are you trying to be right? You're trying to keep your customers, you're trying to do business, you're trying to make money, you're trying to be stable. Is this are you interested in money, or are you interested in an ego parade? If you're interested in money, then the only answer is to say, you're right, cop to it. It was due December 25th. It is now December 26th. I am late. I will work hard to get better. By the way, in that whole process, if you want to really look like a class act, don't mention other people who are later than you. Everybody knows they're out there. If you are, a month late with your project and there's some other D-bag who's 5 years late, let that person stand alone. You don't need to point out, hey, I'm late, but that guy's later. That doesn't. All you're doing is you're attaching yourself and your brand to that garbage. Let that garbage rot alone. And if that person is stupid enough with a project that's 5 years late to start throwing rotten eggs at you, but nothing will defend you better than fans who you have been honest with and upfront with and admitted where things have not worked out like you hoped. And that's your best defense. The person looks like a complete and absolute a-hole if they continue to kind of attack you and want to go at you when you're just being honest, straightforward person. That's the key. And I don't know why it's so hard for people, but it's really hard for people to take that simple advice. And I also want to the fans, to the people out there, if you are a fan of this work, if you're, whatever, don't get all hung up on whether somebody you're not a fan of is late. You're not a fan of them. You're not giving them your money. You've already done the biggest damage you can. You've taken money away from them, or you've not given them your cash. They are not going to be surviving on your dollar. You have dealt the deadliest blow. So just move on with your life. Just keep supporting the things that are good. If a creator falls behind, and again, they always will. If they're honest about it and upfront about it, give them a break. Things happen. Life happens. Things get more complicated than you assumed. There's lots of reasons why people may be late that are not the guy is a thief trying to run away with your money. In a lot of cases, some people are trying this out for the first time and they underestimated some of the work it would take. So if you like that person, if you're interested in their product, consider offering to help. Maybe you have some knowledge they could use. Maybe you can help get the word out to other fans who are curious where this project's at. Maybe you can, there's a lot of things you can do. It's reasonable to give people a break if they're late. I think the people you should not give a break to, and you should absolutely be hard on, are the people who, puff up their chest and act like they're king of the world, and then they miss their deadline and they're late, and then they stop giving any feedback or any answers, and then like a year goes by, or 2 years goes by, or 5 years go by, and they just kind of ignore the situation. They won't respond to it. They won't address it. They ignore it. I mean, I am often amazed on social media, on Facebook and on Twitter and other places, where there are creators who have the biggest egos, who have projects that are 5, 6, 8 years late. If I was that person, I would be one humble a-hole, because I would. I mean, I would be embarrassed about what I would done. I would wake up every morning thinking, I've got to get this monkey off my back. I've got to get this thing shipped and done. But no, a lot of these people, they wake up in the morning and they want to feud about nonsensical crap. And I don't. Are they trying to distract people from the fact that they're late? Are they're desperate to kind of keep their ego any way they can? I don't know. But some of the projects. I mean, you can go down the list of names of people who carry a big chip on their shoulder all the time. And if you look at just what they've delivered and what they've done, it's embarrassing. This is kind of in the 90s. A lot of the Image Comics guys, who coincidentally, a couple of those people have, one in particular has done a terrible job with crowdfunding again. So is clearly nothing has been learned. But as a lot of the titles got really, really late, and I mean, I'm talking months late, or wandering on a year late, and the quality was low, or maybe the title is like 4 months late, and then you finally get it and it's like 12 pages and they've got some back end fill-in issue there. I think you'd go to cons and you'd see these people, and they still carried themselves like they were the king of the world. They were just, I'm a superstar artist, and you should be glad that I'm just hanging out with you. And you're like, you don't produce anything. I'm sorry. It is comics in a lot of ways. It is definitely a creative field, and it's there's a lot of interesting aspects to it, but it's also one of almost the most brutal, always be closing kinds of businesses, because it's a put up or shut up world. If you are an amazing, Jim Lee, he's an amazing artist. His credibility and strength as a creator is a lot lower than it was in the past, because he doesn't do as much anymore. When the New Age of Heroes stuff came out, and he didn't finish a single issue with that, but was billed as being, one of the creators on one of the books. I'm just telling you, in shop, in the community with people who buy things, his credibility falls. And if great, you're an amazing artist once upon a time. I mean, there was a time when Todd McFarlane was the rock star, could do no wrong. There was nobody at that power that was Todd. And today, I mean, his name still carries weight. He's always going to have his reputation and kind of the background of what he created and what he produced. But in terms of a month to month interest, I mean, there's a reason why Spawn sells what it sells. It does not sell remotely close to what it used to sell. And, in Todd McFarlane, he comes back on the title. I mean, it'll help, but he's got to get back into rhythm again. Now, if Todd starts producing, even 6 comics a year, and he starts putting stuff back out again, and he can rocket back to the top and in people's hearts very, very quickly. I mean, look at Rob Liefeld with Major X. He put out what was a very short, limited series, and at the end of the day, he only drew 2 of those, I believe, or maybe the prequel. He didn't draw much of it when all was said and done, and yet still his credibility rose, the profile rose, because if you produce work, if you put things out into the market, that's what people want to see. That's what they buy, and they can hold it in their hands. That's what gives you that credibility and that fame. So same things goes with crowdfunding. You can be an amazing creator. You got to put work out the door. You've got to make comics. You got to ship them. You got to deliver on them. And if you can't do those things, if you're unable to ship and deliver, then your credibility, your stock will sink. And if you're late on a book, the only answer for you is be humble. Be humble, Apologize. Try and make it right. Ego is not your friend. Not in that game. The goal should be go clean. But that's what I think anyway. What do you think? You've backed some books, I'm assuming, or maybe you have, maybe you haven't. What do you want to hear? Please, nobody in the comments. I mean, obviously, it's comments. You can put whatever you want, but please, I know that person X is later than person Y. I know. B. Claymore, Richard Pace is later than Ethan Van Sciver. That is true. It doesn't really matter in the end if nobody ever gets their books. And I do believe, by the way, I believe that Ethan's book will ship. I think there have been pages he's shown, so it's going to go to market. That's fine. It would have been better if it went to market on time. I don't think anyone sane would disagree with that. But it is what it is. Hopefully, he does his next book. It's on time. If he gets a reputation for being late, it will hurt him. I don't know. I don't know enough about where Moore or Pace's books are. Hopefully, they come out someday. There are people who supported them. There are still people who support those guys. Pace has the Second Coming book, so his name's got he's got a slightly higher profile for the moment because he's got something that's kind of newsworthy out there. I hope his stuff comes out. I want it to come out. I want all these books to come out because in a lot of cases there are people who have sunk their money and their time and more importantly, I think their hope into these books. So, they should see the light of day. I think they should. Yeah, I mean, yes, please. More books need to come out, but please don't. I don't need a lecture on nobody. Well, actually, not just me. Nobody needs a lecture over who's later than who. Everybody knows that the deadlines are out there. The dates are there. Anyone who's got any kind of reading comprehension can go. This book was promised in 2012. This book was promised in 2018. The 2012 is later than 2018. We all get it. Everybody gets it. So nobody needs that pointed out. We know. Let's just try and focus on the important thing, which is let's get these books out. And the best way to blow up your critics, ship. If ship good, that's even better. But ship. Get your products out. At the end of the day, we just want to read comics. So, like, subscribe, hit the bell for notification, leave me some comments. What do you think? Maybe lateness doesn't matter to you at all. That's cool. It doesn't matter to everybody. But just generally speaking, deadlines are deadlines. So it's good if we can meet them. Yeah, that's it. Follow me on Twitter, Comic Perch. Come yell at me there. I'm happy to take it. Thanks for listening.